Welcome to the October 19th, 2020 Jamestown Rotary meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Marion Beckerink is going to give us our invocation.
Okay. Let us pray. Lord of the universe, at this moment of the day, when we turn our attention to the spiritual side of our lives, when we consider what light we will follow, help us to understand that no matter what name is given and in what language it is expressed,
Thank you.
the philosophy called the Golden Rule is indeed the most true guidepost by which we should mark the trails of our existence here. Remind us that if that concept were universally held as a standard by the people of all nations and faiths, there would be no wars, no hunger, no crimes, one against the other. We pray that you continue to bless the work that we as Rotarians from many nations and of many faiths do to help those less fortunate. For we believe that one manifestation of this golden rule is our Rotary motto, service above self. Please give us an international time of peace on earth, goodwill towards men, inspired by our great leaders and philosophers who themselves were inspired by you, O Lord. And finally, we ask you to guide those who, as our government leaders, make their daily decisions that affect us, so that their efforts, whether international or local, shall be motivated by this same great rule of charity and goodwill. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Marion. Visiting Rotarians and guests, I know Steve Sandberg has a guest.
Yes, I do. My guest today is Bob Anderson. Bob is the superintendent of Gowanda Central Schools and a resident of Jamestown and is interested in joining our club. So please welcome Bob Anderson.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right, other guests. I know our speaker is here. Welcome, Mr. Morrisroe. Anyone else? I don't see anyone else. Okay, let's again repeat the four-way test. This is of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Let's remember all that as we go through our week. Here are some announcements. Firstly, thank you, Chris Anderson, for being our recorder today. Any committee chair announcements? I have a literacy one I'm going to show you.
I can give a quick update on the vocational committee.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen while you're talking, okay?
I just wanted to let everybody know that Jamestown High School, unfortunately, is not going to be doing mock interviews in this fall semester because of COVID. We are hoping to do something in the spring, whether it's virtual or in person, so I will keep everybody up to date on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can you see that?
No,
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
It
yet,
should be
but
coming.
It's yeah, now we can.
Yay.
Oh, that's all the way to Pennsylvania. Okay. Literacy Committee. This is the Laundromat Library project. This one's on North Main Street, and David Troxel is our contractor and Sally Martinez is the supervisor. However, the Literacy Committee, of course, is much larger. So thank you for all your work. Literacy Committee, you now have 2 laundromat libraries, correct? Yes,
That's
Sharon.
right.
Sharon, you raised your hand? I don't see her. Sharon, did you want to say something, Sharon? You're muted, Sharon. You gotta unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yes,
I happen to be serving on the Salvation Army Advisory Board right now. And I don't know if you've heard that they are not going to be able to have many, although I just heard that Walmart is going to do it, red kettles. So I'm not sure who's the chairman of the Red Kettle campaign, if they've been in contact with the Salvation Army or not. But I would like to, because the Red Kettle directly affects their service to our community. And so I would, if we can't raise enough money by the amount of volunteers that we can have in front of Walmart, or I think there's one other place that agreed to, but most of them didn't. And in spite of perhaps the uptick in COVID right now, Walmart may change their mind. I'm just not sure. So I would love to be able to think of some creative way for this Rotary to make a donation to the Salvation Army if we are not able to man the red kettles like we usually do. So that's my 2 cents worth. And I don't know who's in charge of it.
John Healy is in charge of that committee. And at the board meeting on Friday, he said he'd had no communication from the Salvation Army. It was still up in the air.
Okay, well, that's what I know. And our meeting was supposed to be this last week, but it was canceled. So I assume it'll be within the next couple of weeks, an update on what we can do. So it's not that I want to head up the Red Kettle, but I just as soon be the communication, the liaison between the Salvation Army and Rotary. So there we go. Thank you.
All right, talk to John Healy about it.
Okay.
And then we'll communicate about how we go forward. How's that?
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Any other committee chair reports?
I can
Need
put
to
in
be
something
made?
for the Rotary Foundation and the End Polio Now campaign. World
Okay.
Polio Day is Saturday, this Saturday. And our club members have given over $93,177.04 to Polio Plus since that program started. It is our program. Other people do support it, but it is our program. And the nice thing is that Bill Gates will triple anything that we give individually. So you can go to our club site. There's a link to Rotary International, and up will pop End Polio Now. And you click on that and you can donate online. And if you give $25, it's going to turn into $75. So please consider that because it's just 2 countries left in the world, and we're going to get there. But a little bit of help is always nice from the club that started it. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. And just so you know, Greg and Sue have been doing a yeoman's job attending foundation meetings online for the grant process. And as wonderful as these grants are, those guys are Nazis. You've got to do what they say when they say to do it. So Greg and Sue should get some pretty good, slaps on the back for doing this good work, let me tell you. Pedal for Polio fundraiser so far, I think we're at about $1,400 and we need to raise 15. So that is fantastic. So we only need 4 more 25s, so 2 more $50 donations. It'd be great if we could hit that $1,500 mark, which according to Greg will turn into 3 times that.
Yes.
So we're looking at $4,500 from our club instead of $1,500. So let's hit that. We have until the 28th.
Bill Gates told me that.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. We have until the 28th to get that done. And I'll put the link in the chat box here in a few minutes to what you can hit, and so you can send the money. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Sherry Kroll put in the link for the Happy Bucks weekly donations, and thank you. It helps us keep our budget healthy. Here's something I really need help with. The Rotary County-wide blood drive is happening on Wednesday, the 28th at the Harbor House Hotel. And we are working with Scott Sawyer and the AM Club to provide the volunteers needed for the 6-hour drive. So basically what I'm asking for is I need 2 volunteers to help on that day to Wednesday, to help on that day, Wednesday, for 2 hours. So basically you sit at a table and you just talk about what Rotary does, and there'll be a donation bucket there, but you don't have to ask for money if you don't want to, but there'll be a bucket. And stuff about Rotary will be there. We'll have a laptop with a PowerPoint going about what Rotary does in the county. Michelle Starwald is helping us with that. So if I could get 2 people, you can pick any 2 hours you want, starting at 12:45 to 2, then 2 to 4, or 4 to 6. And if I can get 2 people, then Scott already has 4 people from his club, so we'll just put you all together. Yes, David? You'll do it, along with your charming wife? Is that a yes? Okay.
Joni, what was the date on that?
The 28th.
And that's a Wednesday?
You want it? Yeah.
I can probably help.
Okay, Melissa. All right, we don't need any more people. They don't want to overcrowd, apparently. Thank you very much. I will send you the information, and I will let Scott Sawyer know, and we'll be in contact about it. And you can pick your hours, because his people will just fill in wherever.
Gotcha.
Thank you very, very much. Also, Rotarians, you are encouraged to give blood that day, or, tap somebody in the family to give it, or go out and get a stranger off the street. But somehow we need to actually get some blood in the process here. So if you can donate blood, that'd be even better. I will send you all an email with the link so that you can register for when to give the blood. You don't have to do it that day. You could do it at the Red Cross offices. There's lots of times and places you can do it. But if you could get it done, that would be fantastic. Okay, I already did that. The membership committee has put forth a new member to the board of directors, Maria Kinberg. She is the executive director of the JCC Foundation. Is that right, Kirk? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
And she has applied to join the club. Her sponsor is Kirk Young. She has been approved by the board. And so you have 10 days to let me know any reason why she shouldn't be a member of our club. Isn't that fantastic? Another new member. After seeing the survey results about going back to the DoubleTree, and you have to understand I'm using the free version of SurveyMonkey, so I can only see 40 survey returns. 29 people said yes, they would come back and sit in a chair and watch the meeting and maybe have a cup of coffee and a cookie. 11 people said no. There were 5 people I couldn't get in the survey because it topped out at 40. And even if they said no, it's not going to get too close to the 29. So the majority is they want to come back. So I mentioned this, we talked about it at the board meeting. And given the holidays that are coming up and the planning involved for as contactless a meeting as possible, and the spike in the COVID happening, the board of directors felt it would be wiser to start after the holidays. So we're looking at lining everything up to go in January to go back to the DoubleTree. This is a combined meeting. and I don't think I made that very clear. There'll be a Zoom meeting and an in-person meeting at the same time. So if you can't come for whatever reason, and that's perfectly fine, you can attend on the Zoom meeting. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Joni, was there any
Yeah.
discussion about it maybe not being every week?
No, we didn't talk about that. We could.
Because I was thinking it would be nice if we did it, you know, like once a month or twice a month.
And the rest is on Zoom, but we have to have Zoom all the time, no matter what.
Right.
Do we have any limits
Well-
on the number of people that can attend?
Yeah, it can't be more, well, this is information from 2 weeks ago. Can't be more than 50 people in that big room that we were in, and that includes the DoubleTree staff, which wouldn't be very many, maybe 2.
You know, Joni, it strikes me that maybe we should just give it a shot and see what it's like before we decide if we're going to do it every week or every other week or whatever. Maybe let's just try it. It's probably up to us to make that decision.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. And like I said, the board was concerned with all the holiday things coming up here in the next couple months. That, you know, some weeks we'd be on, some weeks we'd be off. Like the acapella, for instance. I think we're going to see the acapella in December on the first week. The trouble is, it's all going to be Zoom. So we don't probably need to have an in-person meeting that day. So it's going to be a very wacky schedule until we get to January. Do we all want to try to juggle that? Or should we just wait and let the numbers get better, under the positive numbers get better control and start in January?
We still have,
And I know, David, you're gone.
we still have 2
Yes, Sue.
months to see what happens in Jamestown around us. We can say no on December 25th. So let's plan to give it a try. And if, God forbid, things get worse, we'll just back out.
Okay, so plan for January.
I have a question, Joni. Will the speakers be in person at the DoubleTree or on Zoom?
I think we'll give them the choice.
Yeah, in the board meeting, we thought give them a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Because
Plus you're
honestly,
good-
it's a
we're all
lot
good.
easier to do it from your office than have to drive from the North County an hour and a half. If we get people all over the place, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts from anyone? Or you can think about it and email me. So you're okay with us making the plans to start in January, and we can always roll it back if we have to. Okay, I get thumbs up from Vince.
I
Fabulous.
say yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. On a sadder note, the board of directors accepted with regret Patty Venman's resignation from the club. And here's another one. I'm gonna have to put on my police uniform, apparently. Members whose dues are not up to date, and there's a list of them. And if I don't hear from you one way or the other, if the money's coming or the money's not coming, I will be calling you after next Monday. We are on the hook for membership dues by the first, if you are a member at the first of the year. And we really don't want to pay dues for people who haven't paid their dues. So please know that if your corporate hasn't paid yet, that could be part of this. And I'm not pointing fingers at people. I'm just saying sometimes those accounts receivables take a while to get paid, or payable, excuse me. So anyway, check and see if you are it's supposed to have been paid through your corporate finance department and it hasn't happened. Can you give them a call? All right, thank you. Any other announcements?
I have an announcement as the outgoing Red Kettle Chair to kind of tie up Sharon's comments. I did cut out the article in the paper October 14th, and Sharon is correct. Only Tops and Walmart have given permission so far to date to do Red Kettle, which would eliminate a popular venue that we've always done, which is Chaut Mall. So the venues that we did last year were the Foote Avenue Tops, the Faulkner Tops, the Washington Tops, Chautauqua Mall, and the Foote Avenue Tops. We did 2 Foote Avenue Tops. The last 3 years, our Red Kettles have brought in between 1,800 and 2,800 for the Salvation Army. So I would think that, those are the 3 years that I was chair of this. I would think that, if the members are not willing to volunteer, I mean, I think it's a perfect socially distant fundraising opportunity to stand by a kettle and ring a bell and say thank you through your mask. And they're only eliminating one of the locations that they have not yet received approval yet from Chautauqua Mall. That was only one time slot, one day that we did last year, which was December 4th. So last year we did we did 5 days of bell ringing, and at those different locations. So I don't think that, I don't feel uncomfortable doing a Red Kettle time slot myself as a former chair, and I don't know how the members feel about that. You don't have to touch anything other than a bell, and we are going to be in, I would assume, the Tops, Foote Avenue, the Faulkner, the Washington Street, and the Foote Avenue one were always kind of that indoor-outdoor area where all the carts are. And I assume that's what they've given Salvation Army permission to do. So our venue is not going to change. It's just whether the club wants to ring the bells. And to Sharon's point, if we don't feel that we can man those bells, then a direct donation from Rotary in that would be, maybe a $20 donation if we have 100 members. And that would be like right in the middle of what we gave. It wouldn't be the same, we gave 2,800, we generated almost 3,000 in 2017, but last year we only generated 1,800 for whatever reason. I don't know why. Just people weren't as generous.
So the question is the question then, are we willing to do it?
I think it's a 2-part question. It seems to me that according to the article in the Post Journal, and I have not called Holly at Salvation Army. I guess because that will be John Healy's position as chairperson to do that. I always did that. Yeah, I think that it's just kind of, it's 2 things, whether they're going to want us to do it. I think they do.
Right.
And whether we're comfortable doing it. So there's 2 questions.
Yeah, I think I'm going to let John handle that. I'll forward those questions because John's not on the call today.
Yeah.
So
and I think I'm still on the committee, so I'll wait to hear from him.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd share since that it was brought up, and I do have the information.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Sue, it's time to do birthdays.
Well, hello, everybody. It's time to do the October birthdays. And the foundation chairman stole all my thunder because all of you, I know, remember that October is polio month for Rotary. And next Saturday is World Polio Day. I am so proud of what we have accomplished to almost eradicate polio from the world. We still have Afghanistan and Pakistan to tackle, and those are going to be 2 very, very difficult countries. It's estimated that we're going to need at least $50 million per year to tackle this problem. More than 1 million Rotary members have donated their time and money to eradicate polio, and every year, hundreds of Rotarians work alongside health workers to vaccinate children in countries affected by polio. I heard the most wonderful thing, and I'm going to say it to all of you. Rotary takes ordinary people and gives them extraordinary opportunities to do more with their lives than they ever dreamed possible. I don't think any of us really dreamed that it would be this difficult to get rid of polio, and we're this close to getting there. And all of your donations to the foundation have been absolutely wonderfully appreciated, not only for polio, but the other things that the foundation supports. And that is clean water initiatives, teaching hand washing techniques. All of this follows into curing the world from polio. So now we're going to talk about our October birthday celebrants. And remember, many of these folks are members of the Paul Harris Sustaining Club, and that is they have agreed to send in $100 on their birthday, or if not, you may also donate $1 for every year of your birth, of your age, or whatever amount you can contribute. I feel like today all we're doing is asking for money, but
I know.
Please know how much your money is appreciated. And first of all, October 3rd was Kay Marker Magnuson's birthday. And I saw her, I thought, in the picture a minute ago and next to Lee, and she's disappeared.
She's a birthday denier.
Yeah, well, it was her birthday, and we're going to say happy birthday past Kay Marker Magnuson. She lives in Bemis Point. She joined the club in 2015. She attended the University of Mexico. She is an extraordinary stained glass artist, and we are very happy to have her in the club as a Paul Harris Sustaining Club member. Russ Dietrich, his birthday was October 9th, and I'm not quite sure. I thought it was 84, but forgive me if I've said the wrong number of years. He's a past president, 1982, 1983. He is a member of the Paul Harris Sustaining Club, and he has 3 Paul Harris Fellows. He was the, oh my gosh, he's worn so many hats in Jamestown. He was the Rec and Parks Director for many, many years. And then he worked for Northwest Savings Bank as their public liaison. And he was sponsored by John Hamilton. So happy birthday to Russ. Lisa Haglund, who I think is still a member, but we haven't seen her in ages. Her birthday was October 11th. She is now the CEO of Heritage Ministries. She's a Paul Harris Sustaining Club member. She attended Alfred University, and she was sponsored by Jennifer Gibson. Phil Calla, defense attorney, defense attorney, many hats. He was sponsored by Max Pickard in 1991. He's a member of the Paul Harris Sustaining Club. He earned his Paul Harris Fellows in 2003 and 2017. He lives in Greenhurst, and we miss seeing him, but he insists he has absolutely no computer skills. And then we have Diana Meckley, whose birthday will be October 30th, and she is retired from the Resource Center. She attended Millersville State University, St. Bonaventure, and Alfred University. She was sponsored by Jim Cunningham. She's a past president and has 2 Paul Harris Fellows in 2000 and 2011. And so I want you all to sing a quick happy birthday to our October pumpkins. And here we go. Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday
To you.
to you.
Happy birthday,
Happy
dear
birthday.
October pumpkins. Happy birthday to you.
That's the funniest thing all week. And let's see, the winner of our free lunch is Diana Beckley.
Yay!
Congratulations.
David, don't
Well,
waste
we
that
could've
cookie. Now
We
remember
could've done
this,
3 drinks each. That was interesting.
please remember,
Okay. Yes.
Rotary takes ordinary people and gives them extraordinary opportunities to do more with their lives than they ever dreamed possible. So keep dreaming.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. All right, Chris, would you introduce our guest?
Certainly. Rich Morrisroe is the part-time city attorney for the city of Dunkirk, New York. He also runs the law office of Richard J. Morrisroe, a general practice law firm with offices in Dunkirk and Buffalo that specializes in real estate, landlord-tenant law, criminal defense, and civil litigation, including divorce and family law cases. Rust Belt born and raised, Rich is originally from East Chicago, Indiana. He is of Irish, Puerto Rican heritage, speaks fluent Spanish, and lived in Buffalo for over 20 years. Rich relocated his family to Dunkirk in 2018, where he lives with his wife, Iris, his mother-in-law, Petrolina Fernandez. Sorry, Rich, I probably butchered that. And 2 sons, Gabrielle and Nicholas. Prior to returning to school and practicing law, Rich was a banker, a Spanish teacher, an executive director of a housing nonprofit agency, a realtor, a drug prevention specialist, and a legislative aide for the Buffalo Common Council. He graduated cum laude from both Amherst College and the University of Buffalo Law School. Rich has navigated between the private sector, public sector, and the nonprofit sector over the years. He also has considerable government experience. He interned for 2 summers for Congressman Peter Visclosky during college in Indiana, legislative aide for nearly 2 years with Buffalo Common Council, executive director, Buffalo's Commission on Citizens' Rights and Community Relations, and Rich now heads the Dunkirk Law Department as Dunkirk City Attorney. Rich, we welcome you and the floor is yours.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. Since we can't knock on doors or do much of what's considered traditional retail politics for local campaign, I'd like to start by just meeting all of you. And so I'd ask if you could just go down the line, introduce yourself, tell me where you're from and what you do.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Oh boy. How do we start?
All right, I'll start. Joni Blackman, and right now I'm a consultant for nonprofits, and I actually live over the line in Bear Lake, PA. So we need to all unmute. And Lee, why don't you go next?
Muted.
It isn't gonna work.
He's trying. Okay, while he's doing that, David.
David Troxel. I live in Jamestown, and I've done a lot of things, and most of that people in the club know that I do a lot of the international volunteer projects for Rotary Club with my wife, Marissa.
Wonderful. He didn't tell you he's a retired English teacher, PhD, David?
Yeah, I just was trying to talk about the interesting stuff.
Yeah, taught in Japan for a long time. Interesting guy. Okay, Greg, do you want to unmute, or Pat? Go ahead, Pat.
Pat Kinney, Jamestown, retired government service.
Nice to meet you.
Greater Jamestown Empire Zone, right, Pat?
Pardon me?
Greater Jamestown Empire Zone?
That too.
Yeah. Okay. Vicki,
We had
can
a
you
life
stop
before
making
that.
talk? Vicki is. All right, Vicki's muted. Vicki owns Elegant Edibles in Jamestown. Very active in the community with her catering business. Tori.
I typed mine into the chat to try to make this go a little faster. Otherwise, I fear we're gonna run out of time.
Yeah, I
So-
know.
Suggest that we could all do that.
I think I'll type mine into chat
Okay.
too. I'll type mine.
That's
Okay, Rich?
All right,
Hello?
Rich, I think that's what they're gonna do. You're gonna get a
Okay.
million messages.
That's
All right,
fine.
in the meantime, let's all mute.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, while I'm reading through these, again, Chris gave my short bio. If anybody has any questions on that, I'd be happy to elaborate. Essentially, I've been with one foot in the ivory tower and one foot in the street as a Rust Belt kid with a brain my whole life. I grew up in a neighborhood of steel workers, civil servants, cops, firefighters, working middle class, mostly Black and Hispanic, mostly Mexican actually, as the Irish Puerto Rican spot. And then I did public school in East Chicago up until 8th grade. And in high school, my parents shipped me off to the Jesuits, where I commuted into Chicago about an hour each way on a good day. From there, made my way to Amherst College at the recommendation of a teacher and mentor at St. Ignatius in Western Massachusetts. I see that Mr. Goodell is a Williams graduate, so that's our big rivalry, much like Dunkirk, Fredonia. And from Amherst, Buffalo found its way through the management development program at M&T Bank. And that's what brought me here back in 1997. And I met Iris Fernandez, now Iris Morrisroe, about a month later. And she kept me here. She's a Bronx native who came to Buff State in the early 90s and never left, loved Western New York. And it was an easy transition for me because I'm, again, a native of East Chicago, which essentially is Lackawanna meets Jamestown. So making the transition to Buffalo was relatively simple. When I got here with my American Studies and Spanish liberal arts degrees, the challenge for my father was, can you actually get a job? And so I made a point of showing him I could get several. And I made a point of trying to get jobs in different worlds that my parents weren't a part of so that I could get different perspectives, so that I could learn, and so that I could meet people from different walks of life. And what I found in that experience over the years is that too often we get stuck in our silos. You know, we focus on what we're doing, and whether that's nonprofit work or teaching, whether that's running a small business or being part of a major corporation, whether that's doing your trade, carpentry or plumbing, for example, or, you know, in the case of government, being a government official and or an elected official. I've had the privilege of working with folks in all those worlds. And what I found to be most important is how interconnected we all are and how important it is to work across those silos to get things done. I think Rotary provides a wonderful vehicle for that and has throughout the years. My father was a member lifelong of the Lions and the Knights of Columbus Club and the Exchange Club in East Chicago. And I think the Exchange Club is related to Rotary at some level. And since I've been in Western New York, I've been a part of several nonprofit boards, president of 2 of them, as well as having run Heart of the City Neighborhoods in Buffalo for 4 years myself. So I understand full well a lot of those logistics and the housekeeping issues that you guys were running through at the beginning of the meeting. Been there, done that. And what I find in my time in government is that it's just a larger scale of a lot of those mechanics that you do in a nonprofit setting. At the end of the day, the thread that binds all my experiences is that I work with people, whether I call them constituents or clients, customers, friends, or the like. And throughout that time, I found myself either attracted to or put into leadership roles. It's a God-given blessing and a curse. Everything is a double-edged sword. It means a lot of responsibility. It means being held accountable. And it means sometimes eating crow, which I've learned in all those different walks. And currently as a city attorney for Dunkirk, and also in private practice, having my own firm with 2 full-time staff, part-time staffer, and 2 independent contractor attorneys who work with me. I've learned to juggle and manage multiple issues at once. It's not easy, but again, I felt and was taught at an early age that with responsibility and with talent comes responsibility. And I feel like I have to do my part. And so that is what I've done. I'm the only Spanish-speaking attorney in the county of Chautauqua. So I get clients all the time, whether I look for them or not. And especially this year, I haven't really looked for many and they still come. So I have a busy practice as I'm trying to run a campaign. And Dunkirk has a new council since January that is a bit adversarial to the mayor. So that's made for interesting council meetings and dynamics. But again, I see that as a learning experience. And moving forward, in terms of running for Chautauqua County, I feel like the county is at a turning point, and we have a lot of work to do in order to turn things around and to overcome the effects of this virus, which, as we're sitting here on a Zoom meeting, has affected all aspects of life. It isn't getting any better locally, it's getting worse. And thankfully, we've evolved in terms of our responses, both as government and as in the medical field. And hopefully a vaccine is around the corner. But until then, we have to do our best to keep moving forward to acknowledge and address the issues that the virus creates and to keep going about our business, which is in many businesses I see is changing and is probably changing and never coming back in terms of what the normal was prior to this virus. So we have to accept that reality and deal with it. At the county level, that means changing some of the ways we do business. That means working around the mandates that are out of our control from the state and federal government. And that means doing the best that we can to both promote economic development in the county itself, to manage the services that we provide, and to be buoyant and flexible, because the world's shifting and all we can do is control our reaction to it in many ways. And that goes in terms of leadership, that goes in terms of being a service provider, and that goes in terms of being your representatives at the county level of government. So with that, I open it up to questions. Feel free.
Hi, Vince Horgan. I'm former county executive, legislator, military time. You said you want to turn things around. Can you elaborate on what needs to be turned around in the county and kind of your approach to it? Thanks.
Sure. And county executive, we met when I first started with Mayor Rosas back in 2017, and I thank you for your service and time with the county. I think, Mr. Horgan, the big issue is tax base, right? So we're losing tax base because we're losing population and we're losing some businesses. And so the question is, what can we control within that national economic environment and the state level, the state environment? What can we do to attract businesses, to grow businesses internally, and to attract new residents? I think that it's a function of marketing. I think it's a function of addressing deficits in how we do things. And it's a function of collaboration across, and it isn't just across the different departments of Chautauqua County and the IDA and the agencies that are related. It's working with the business community, organizations such as yourself, working with the realtors, working with the Chamber of Commerce and all its constituent chambers in the different municipalities. And it's working with the Convention Visitors Bureau to bring in new energy, new ideas, new money, and most importantly, people and taxpayers, because that's what we need. At the end of the day, if we want to sustain the level of service we have, you either raise taxes or you increase the tax base. Nobody likes raising taxes. I myself, as a homeowner and a businessman, don't like to pay taxes, but as a public servant for a good chunk of my life, I realize that there's certain public goods that we need to pay for with tax revenues, whether it's police service, fire service, or filling the potholes in the streets. So I think one of the main issues, Mr. Horgan, and you've been involved in some of this, I saw with Chautauqua Lake, is trying to get folks to work across these different silos together and to row in the same direction to make real impact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Rich,
Really?
Why did you initially get involved in running for Chautauqua County Executive?
Well, two things. One is, even before the virus, I saw that, you know, as Dunkirk City Attorney, I sit at the right hand of Mayor Rosas, and I'm involved in most projects, most economic development, things going on through and in conjunction with the Chautauqua County IDA. We resuscitated our own Dunkirk IDA and work with the Dunkirk Local Development Corporation. I work with the zoning board and the planning board. And so you see there's a lot of collaboration and work between the county and the cities and all the municipalities. And then the county also acts as a conduit for state and federal funds that are then filtered down at the municipal level. Also, as a private attorney, I dealt a lot with social services, with probation and what have you, in criminal and family court cases, in some cases divorces. And so I just saw there was a need to corral all this because the county is involved in more things than I think people are aware of. And the county is the principal face of economic development for the county, for Chautauqua County. And so in order to maximize what we're doing at the city level, whether it's Dunkirk or Jamestown, what we're doing around the lake and all the host communities there, what we're doing in terms of marketing the assets we have, the lakes, the National Comedy Center, the Institute, and what have you, the county, I believe, can play a key role in spearheading, in managing, and in getting people to sit at the table and work together. Just looking
All right,
here.
we have time for one more question. Greg, do you want to ask a question? You look like you're moving a lot. Hold on.
Hey, Joni, I have a quick question. Joni, it's Lynn Gruel.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Rick,
Okay.
I've appreciated the articles that have been written about you and the other candidate for county executive in the Post Journal. I think the last article was, it might have been this morning or it might have been yesterday, about the budget, differences in your approach to the budget question. Can you kind of expand on the differences that you see in the way that the budget was proposed by the current executive and what you would do? I didn't think that the article provided enough opportunity for me to have an understanding of how much spending can be reduced because of the reduction in what the 20% proposed state aid is going to be, or what your driving factor was in determining the criticism that you had of the budget. So if you could kind of give an overview of what the county budget is and maybe what you would propose differently.
Sure. So to that, the main two components of revenue for the county are sales tax and property tax. And essentially, in this budget that was proposed by Mr. Wendell, you have a decrease in the property tax rate, but that doesn't necessarily equal a decrease in property taxes. The taxes actually went up by over $3 million. And that's because the tax rate is a function of an equation. It's tax rate times tax assessment equals tax revenue. The two issues there are, again, we're trying to squeeze more tax revenue out of the existing properties. And that only gets you so far. So even though it sounded like he was cutting your taxes are still actually going up. The other facet of that is collecting property taxes. Usually you have a certain percentage of property owners who don't pay until they have the hammer of the in-rem tax auction over their heads. Because of COVID-19, which again has affected everything, that tax auction has been postponed to 2021. So what's not reflected in that proposed budget is that they're already estimating $3 to $4 million in tax arrears that have not been collected, that may not be collected until next year. And so that's a reality we have to deal with, that budget doesn't deal with. The other issue is sales tax. Again, they're relying on the numbers from essentially the second quarter, March to June, to say that, well, sales tax revenue is going to be the same because we had this bump. What that bump doesn't factor into account is we had stimulus checks and we had that extra 600,000 for all the folks who are on unemployment. Those monies are gone. We don't yet have a sense from the federal government what's coming down the pipe, if anything, before the election or after the election. So that's an unknown that we don't control. I also think that because we're seeing an increase in the infection rates in the rural areas, including Chautauqua County, that you're going to see a reduction in sales tax revenue because people are going to hunker down. Even if government doesn't shut down and we don't go backwards in terms of the reopening phases, people themselves are going to self-select to shut down. And online sales, while they've been robust, only make up for so much of that economic activity. So I think that the sales tax revenue as proposed is high. The estimates are high. That's why I think, again, in any business, you have revenues and you have expenses. I think we have to do a deeper dive into addressing those expenses to figure out what we can do without, what we absolutely need, and how we can do things differently to provide those services we absolutely need. I just don't see that yet from the county executive or his budget. 20% cuts across the board, to me, is only a starting point. I don't think that's an end point. And so that's my approach. And unfortunately, I know we're running short on time. I will leave you with one other issue, and that's one of the models that I learned from the Rotary. I have some good friends, the Nortons in Buffalo, who are Rotarians, and they're very involved in the exchange program. And they host families from across the globe, and they've also sent their kids across the globe. I think one of the key issues that we have here in Chautauqua County and state nationally is the rural-urban divide. I think the red-blue divide is a function of the rural-urban divide, frankly. And so one of the things I'd like to see modeled on the Rotary program is an internal county exchange program to allow kids and families from the rural areas to experience urban life and vice versa. And both to experience life in those suburban areas around the cities, Lakewood, Faulkner, Fredonia. So I think there's something to be said about people being able to work across the differences, whether they're political or whether they're geographic or whether they're industry differences, if there's more of a breaking of bread and if people spending time together from different walks of life. I think that can be done at a micro level here in Chautauqua County. And I would love your help in making that happen should I be elected.
Thank you, Rich. Greg?
Yes, I
Make it quick.
I finally figured out that I wasn't on my iPad, so I had to actually push a cursor over there to open my phone. That's the curse of old age. So if you're not familiar with this, just say I'm not familiar with it, then don't answer it. But there's an interesting thing going on. It's actually a bill going through the legislature called the Amsterdam Organization or Amsterdam Project to reorganize New York State into 3 regions. That would be the upstate region, that's the Amsterdam region, which is us poor people, the New York region, which is the city, and then the Montauk region, Long Island, Rockland, and Winchester. We would still have New York, but the authority to handle our life would resolve within our own area. In this case, it'd be the Amsterdam area. Now, there's some pluses and minuses there, but do you have any thoughts about that? And again, if this hasn't hit your bucket of things to learn about, that's perfectly fine.
Greg, I read the news voraciously, so I did read that article, and 2 thoughts. One is it's a pie in the sky dream for, frankly, Republican legislators and those who have aspirations of being Republican executives to have more representation, because since our population is New York City heavy, over half the state population, Albany is New York City heavy. I get that motivation. I understand it. The problem with that motivation is it doesn't take into the fact that we are wards of New York City tax dollars, income tax, sales tax, and the property taxes that are generated by the 5 boroughs and the surrounding areas. In other words, without New York City cash, we're Appalachia, and we might as well become West Virginia or Kentucky. So the realisticness of that plan, I think, is wanting. Again, I get the politics of the plan. I get the idea of having more of a say, but at what cost? And I'll leave it there.
Okay, that's fine. And the only thing I'll say is if we adopt the same spending habits as New York City, if we adopted the same thing as the welfare benefits was New York City, et cetera, then we would absolutely fail because they do support us.
Agreed.
I can talk Western, I can talk Kentucky, I can talk West Virginia. I would give it a go, but that's it.
Agreed,
That
Greg.
sounds like a whole nother meeting to me.
Yeah, if you look at my website, Greg, there's a concept I call conversion, where I talk about thinning the welfare herd and those who are on Social Security disability, which aren't even considered as part of the welfare community, but they are, that doesn't run through the county, and getting more people to work. And in addition, more people to own their own small businesses, because I think that has to be a component of that too. So I agree, we're top heavy in this state in terms of social services. At the same time, this state not only subsidizes Western New York and the Southern Tier, but all that money from New York City subsidizes states like Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama, and West Virginia. So let's just keep that in mind. And again, I understand this is a red-blue divide issue, but it's a realistic issue, and those numbers are real.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you so much for your time, Rich. It's been very interesting. A donation to the Polio Plus Fund, which you've heard all about what Rotary is doing with polio. A donation to the Polio Plus Fund will be made in your honor to help eradicate polio around the world. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, next week our speaker is Congressman Tom Reed. And remember, Rotary opens opportunities. So what opportunity will show up in your community or in your life this week? Have a great week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We're out.
Thank you, Joni. Thanks, Joni.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.